Okay, so that's what senators do. Yeah, they make phone calls too. That's weird. I thought senators would have somebody to make phone calls for them. Okay, here's the next one.
Prohibition of alcohol. This amendment made all alcohol drinks illegal and the selling and making liquor illegal.
One of my favorite movies, me and my best friend, is The Great Gatsby. So think about that when you think about the prohibition of alcohol. I think telling people that they could not drink alcohol made them want to do it more. It's almost like when you're like a kid and your mom says you can't have any candy and you just are like, oh my gosh, like I can't live, I can't breathe, I need candy, I need candy, I need candy. And you just can't have that candy. So what do? You go to your friend's house and you get some candy. You steal some money and you get some candy. You go to school and you find candy wherever you can get candy. So I feel like that's what prohibition of alcohol does. And we're going to go into amendment number 19 now.
Voting rights for women. Citizens may not be kept from voting based on gender.
All the girls wanted to do was vote. We just want to help. So my teacher explained it as prohibition of alcohol. Before this, everybody was just drunk. And so now that they can't have alcohol, you know, they've opened their eyes and realized that women aren't crazy and they can make decisions. So they give us the rights to vote. And yeah. Moving on into number 20.
Succession dates for the President and Congress. The terms of the President and the Vice President begin and on January 28th. The terms of Congress and begin at noon on January 3rd.
Okay, she just sounds dumb. But basically the inauguration, start date of the President's term and Congress. But no, Congress starts on January 3rd. Continuing. Amendment 21. Here we go.
Repeal of prohibition. Amendment 18 was repealed. Alcoholic drinks were no longer illegal.
So basically this is after they realized everybody was still stealing the candy. That they had to say, okay, stop stealing candy. We're just gonna give it to you. You can have it back, okay? I don't want your candy. You can have your candy. And that's basically like what the overturn of prohibition is. Let's move it. Move it. Move it. Move it. Move it. Move it.
Limits the presidential terms to 2. No one can be elected to be president more than twice.
So who was it? Like FDR was president like 10 times? Or 4 times, I think. And then he died in his last term. One of the presidents was president for way too long. He kept rerunning. And he kept winning. I don't feel like he was a bad president. But he was just president way too long. So then they made a 2-term rule where you can only be president for 2 terms. Which some people would disagree with nowadays because of some of our candidates that are running. Some people say they would prefer to keep Obama in office. I myself am not going to speak on that. Let's continue.
Voting rights for Washington, D.C. in the Electoral College. Citizens living in Washington, D.C. can vote for the President and Vice President in the Electoral College.
My teacher basically said that because Washington, D.C. was not a state, it's a district, the District of Columbia, they didn't really have the rights to vote, which didn't really make sense to me because everybody lives there. So he said basically the state, or the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., basically has 435 House of Representatives. They have 100 senators because everybody lives there. So they don't really get to vote on them. That doesn't click to me. How do you not get to vote on... the president even lives there, but yet you just don't get to choose who he is. So this gave them voting rights, which makes sense. We're going to keep moving. Okay, let's go.
Voting poll tax is illegal. Citizens cannot be charged a poll tax or any other tax to vote.
You can't not let me vote. Like, okay, if I'm poor, I still have the say so. Okay, just because you upper middle classers, have more money than I do, doesn't mean that your vote means more than mine. So you can't put a tax on a poll. That's discrimination.
Presidential death or disability procedures. If the president dies, the vice president becomes president. If the office of vice president becomes empty, the president nominates a new vice president. Congress must approve the nomination.
So this one's pretty straightforward. I mean, if the president dies, this is kind of like the procedure for what happens after his death. Of course, we already know the vice president goes into office if the president dies. And my teacher said the vice president has to have all the qualifications of being president. So Obama couldn't be the vice president. He's already been president for 2 terms. So the vice president would have to be somebody with all the qualifications of being president, which I'm guessing would be the same for whoever the vice president chose to be his vice president once he was president. Yeah.
Voting rights for 18-year-old. Citizens may not be kept from voting based on age if they are 18 or older.
So this is what? Amendment 26. Whoa. I'm turning 18 this year in November. Guess what day? Not the 2nd. I'm turning 18 on November 18th. Oh. And I don't get to vote this year, which I don't really feel like, after watching that video about the Electoral College, that my vote would really count for much. But I mean, that's good. Once you're 18, you're like an adult now, so you get to vote. That's great.
Congressional pay raise procedures. Salary increases for member of Congress cannot go into effect until after the next election.
So this is Amendment 27, which basically it increases the salary of the Congress. So now we've gone over 17 of the 27, 11 through 27. And now we need a way to remember how to memorize them.